Yeah, good go.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's one.
Yeah.
You bet you, man. Got him.
Hi everybody, welcome to our new show. It's called Harrod Outdoors Videocast, and this is going to be a YouTube series. This will be our very first one, and you can find us on YouTube, so you want to make sure you follow us there. About one or two every month, probably two a month to start with. The idea is that we're going to be real informal. It's an opportunity for you to get to know us a little bit better. We're going to tell some stories of some of our hunting and fishing adventures. And we're going to talk about some of the products that we use, and certainly you can interact with us on YouTube. It's not live, so when you're watching this, we recorded it sooner or sometime before, and but we'll answer any of your questions, or if you have something you'd like us to talk about, one of your favorite shows that you'd like us to talk about, we'll do that. I'm Richie Harrod. Today I'm with my son Tyler Harrod, and a little bit later here we're going to start talking about getting youth into hunting and fishing, and it's the dead of winter, so we're going to talk about walleye fishing because, we kind of want to go walleye fishing, don't we?
Yeah, just a little bit.
So anyway, that's what we're going to do today. A little bit more about Harrod Outdoors. We produce two television shows. We produce the Northwest Outdoorsman, which has been on air for about 10 years now. You can find shows on NCW Life Channel in Wenatchee, so North Central Washington, on NBC Sports Northwest, which formerly was Comcast Sports Northwest, and that's the kind of our home channel that we've been on the longest. And you can also find us on Wild TV in Canada, which is a national network up there, and this last year was our first year. And also you can find us obviously on this YouTube channel, so you can look for episodes here. And we're also on what's called the Spincast television app, which is kind of a cool thing, right? We can put that on there and you can watch it wherever you go. It's pretty sweet.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's easy to use. It's pretty cool. So check it out. It's free to download, and you can find a bunch of our episodes there. Yeah, so today we thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about getting youth into fishing and hunting, So one time Tyler and I went out to Banks Lake and we made a show. Weren't you just right out of high school?
Yeah, I just graduated high school, and that was my first year off in college.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that's what I thought. Probably 2013.
Yeah, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I think the show aired in 2014, and you can find the show. It's called Banks Lake Walleye Fishing. It's right here on the YouTube channel, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So when you were kids, I used to take you and Michelle out there. Do you remember that old boat that we had?
The old kind of yellowish, and like one line of seats right in the middle. Oh gosh, that thing was old.
I don't know. You guys were probably 10 and
young, yeah,
8, something like that. Probably quite a bit younger. And we had a mirror craft, a 14-foot aluminum mirror craft that had a covered bow, and it had a windshield, and I think it had like a 30-horse Johnson motor on it.
Yeah, and it was, oh gosh, that thing was.
It was pretty tippy, and on Banks Lake, if you've ever been to Banks Lake, it's in north central Washington. It's a big lake. It's 30 miles long. It's a reservoir that is made in an old dry coulee. So they pump water out of Lake Roosevelt and it goes into the Banks Lake. It has a dam on the upper end and a dam on the lower end, and that's how they provide water for the Columbia Basin. So it's pumped out of there. It's a pretty neat thing, and we talked about it a little bit in the show too. We had somebody from the Bureau of Reclamation tell the story, so you might check that out. That's some pretty neat stuff. But that lake is, like I said, 30 miles long and in this coulee. And so the wind,
Oh yeah.
if the wind decides to come up,
yeah,
it's gonna blow.
Yeah, are you thinking about that one time where it was me, you, Michelle, and we
Yeah.
had that boat barely made it out of the wind, and we found a little place to hunker down for a little while, where we waited the wind to pass a little bit and calm down. So
I think when we decided to finally go back to the launch, it was still pretty windy. We had to cross some open water. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was like coming up over the gunnel, you know, into the boat. They were
Yeah.
really low gunnels, and you know, that old boat, we used to keep a little hand pump in there, you know.
Yeah, just pump it out. So yeah.
So it get too much water, you know, you'd pump really fast.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember that.
But you know, so we started out there with the kids when they were small, and I guess probably for me the one thing about when you guys were at that age is trying to make it a fun time, you know, and if you try not to get you too cold or too hot, or find a variety of things to do. You know, I remember a lot of times if the fishing was slow, I might take you guys to the bank. You remember that?
Yeah. I remember when Maisie was a little puppy, and the first time she ever got near the bank on a lake, and she was freaking out, running up and down like crazy. Yeah.
So I'd take these guys over to the bank and let them off, and they'd play around, you know, in the shallow waters on the bank there and in the reeds, and then I would maybe go back out where I could see them easy and just fish. And sometimes in the spring there's some really good smallmouth bass fishing in the shallows. So lots of areas on banks have real shallow bays, and so you know the water is just a foot or two deep, and then it just goes out to maybe, you know, 6 or 7, 8 feet deep over a pretty long distance. And those smallmouth, they create their beds on them so you can sight fish them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'd drop them off, and then I'd, you know, go throw some plastics at them to see if I could get any. Watch these guys yell at each other, throw mud and stuff. But anyway, that's the whole idea, I think, is to, you know, make it interesting so you want to go again. If you just go out there and fish like we do now, which is, you know,
boring to most.
we just keep going until we get the fish to bite, then I think, you know, a small kid is not likely to want to go back. So it needs to be fun.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them entertained at least.
Yeah. So we did that, you know, from the time they were little. When they were in high school, we went out there a lot. You and your friend Flynn went out there with us a couple times.
Yeah, Flynn and Colin came with us one time, and I got some of my friends that are real interested in fishing, so they always like to tag along.
Yeah, so we take them out there, and a couple times the walleye fishing was really good, so that was great. Good way to get hooked on it, you know, is to have a lot of fish bite, obviously.
Of course.
And so, but anyway, so when we started making the television show, it was like, well, this is a natural, you know, we need to tell the story of us fishing at Banks Lake, because we've been doing that for, oh gosh, you know,
20-some years.
20-some years, you know. That's one of our favorite places to fish. And I used to fish quite a bit on the lower Columbia River down by the John Day Dam for walleye. But, you know, since I've lived here in Washington, you know, that's one of my favorite places to go. It's not too far from us. It's only about an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes away. So we can be fishing pretty quick. But so when we started making the show, we decided, well, let's go out there and make a show at Banks Lake.
Yeah.
And there are several places at Banks where you can either rent little motel rooms, or actually there's one location where you can rent small cabins, and they're not very expensive, especially in the shoulder seasons, you know, like in the spring or fall. So I think that first time we went out there was maybe like April?
Yeah, it was probably right around April, around about spring break.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were just coming back from college. Yeah. And so we rented one of those little cabins. I think it was like, I don't know, $60, $50 a night, something like that.
Perfect, though.
Yeah, it wasn't very much. And they don't have much, you know. They're just a couple beds and power. They do have heat, but no water. And it works pretty good for a quick trip out there. And so we stayed, and our friend Bobby Loomis, you're going to get a chance to meet Bobby. He works at Max Lure Company. You probably recognize the last name, and there'll be lots to tell about Bobby in another one of our episodes. I'll get him here and we'll chat it up. But he works at Max Lure, and he's really one of my best friends. And so he showed up out there and fished with us, I think, for the day, right?
Yeah, for the first afternoon we were there.
I think in this episode, when you watch it too, I haven't looked back on it for a few years, but I think Bobby and I fished out there, just the two of us, when it was still really cold. And I think you were still in school.
Yeah, I think so.
And then when Tyler got home for spring break, we said, let's go back out there, and you and I are going to stay the night. And Bobby said, well, I'll come out for the day. So remember, he came out and joined us for a while, right?
Yeah, then we dropped him off at the bank, and then we got all of our stuff ready.
Yeah, so he came out and joined us for a little while, and so we launched at the upper end. There's a place called Cooley Playland, and that's in the very north end of the lake. And there's a little store there and a launch. It's a great place. If you've never gone by, stop by there. It's a neat place. And so I think we launched there, and it was cold.
Yeah, it was pretty cold when we first launched. Yeah.
Launched, and we went across the way there, and we started fishing, and wasn't so good.
Yeah, I mean, we were catching fish, but I mean, they were like maybe 10 inches, not even. That was, little guys.
A lot of them are pretty small, and I think one thing on Banks Lake, especially in that spring when the lake begins to turn over, a lot of the fish are real deep through the winter months. If it doesn't freeze, we fished up there in the winter months, and you catch them at anywhere from 45, 50 feet all the way down to the deepest parts of the lake. I've caught them in 70 feet of water, and you don't get a lot of fish to bite. They're real lethargic. You got to troll real slow to get them to bite those times of year. But as you move into the spring, the lake begins to turn over. They're beginning to add some more water to the lake. The temperatures are increasing, and those places that those walleye are hanging out in the lake are going to change. They're going to start changing. So it's a little bit of a hunt, to find where they are. Mm-hmm. And we were finding were the smaller fish.
Yeah, we couldn't get. We got one big one on that trip because of that. Because when we were just drifting along, you caught that one, but I mean, that's just us drifting. That was kind of random.
Yeah, it kind of was. Most of the stuff that we were targeting were pretty small fish, and so we picked up and we went out to a popular spot in the lake, which is called Barker Flats. Everybody fishes there. The nice thing about Barker Flats is it's just a great big flat that goes up to say like 14, 12 feet of water, and then it just goes out and slowly rolls off, and you can fish all the way down over 60 feet. And so it's a good place to hunt for where are the fish at that time of the year, because you can just fish right off the roll. Yeah. And once you mark some fish or get a bite, then you can work that contour. So we went out there, and I think all we started catching was perch.
Yeah, there was nothing but perch, or maybe one or two small little guys out there, but yeah, we just kept catching perch. So.
Yeah, and of course perch are great eating, so if you're catching perch, you might as well
keep catching them.
Might as well keep catching them. So we tried to catch a few, and then I think we ended up going back.
I think we did.
I think we ended up going back to the spot where we started, and I think that's where I caught that bigger one. The sun had come out a little bit. And
yeah.
So then we dropped Bobby off, and because he had to head on back, and then you and I went and stayed in the cabins.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. That cabin was cool.
Yeah, it's fun to do that. Now what we always do is take food along with us to have a barbecue there, or I'll bring my own. Sometimes I bring my own little barbecue just so I can cook some stuff. But we had hamburgers?
Yeah, hamburgers with a piece of the bread because we forgot buns.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so we're sort of roughing it.
Yeah, anyway. It's just whatever.
I think we went in, we got ourselves settled, we ate a little something, and then we went back out for the evening.
Yeah, for a short time, I think. Yeah. And we just came back in.
And I the other thing about Banks Lake that I like so much is just the fact that it's beautiful out there, and I think we had a sunset like no other.
Oh yeah, we had a really pretty sunset. Took a couple pictures of it and everything. Yeah, I remember that.
That was really pretty. So we stayed the night in the cabin and then got up to fish the next morning. And of course, fishing was kind of the same. But the one thing I remember about that trip was just how much frost there was on the boat the next morning.
Oh yeah, we had to scrape the frost off the windows and everything before we go out. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you've scraped the ice. The frost off your boat windshield, but it's going to be a pretty cold morning when you go out.
Yeah.
One thing, if it's really cold when you're doing that and you're pulling your boat out of the water, is you kind of want to make sure you put the motor down and let the water drain out. So if you do happen to get a harder freeze, you're not breaking something in your motor.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
That'd be bad. So yeah, one thing I always do is put the motor down and let it drain out a little bit just in case. Or if you can leave it moored in the water, that'll help too, because then it's the parts are down in the water a little bit better. So, but that was a really fun trip. So one of the things we want to do is talk a little bit about what we're using. Do you have any favorite ones you like using out there? Because you fish there a lot.
I mean, throughout the years, you can't go wrong with the purple walleye pop.
Yeah, exactly. Walleye pops are some of the best. Wally pops, here I've got an orange one. You can see here it's still in the package, but we use probably green the most, or chartreuse. Yeah, it's a bright green, of course. This particular color is orange. This works pretty well. It sort of mimics a crawdad. And in some parts of the year, one of the things I always do is when I do catch some fish, is I look at their gut and see what they're eating. If they've got little crawdads in there, this is a good thing to go to. Some other things that we use, a version of the classic wedding ring, which is called the double whammy. It's a 2-hook wedding ring setup. You can see here this one's in chartreuse and green. And the nice thing about all of these, of course, is you can change the smile blade, to a different color. It kind of depends on what you're after. This is a spindrift, smile blade spindrift, and this one's in gold patterns. And the one thing in the wintertime, we tend to have pretty good luck with darker colors.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So gold patterns, we've got a couple different kinds of the smile blade. Slow death here. One's a super slow death, and one's, I guess I put both super slow deaths. You can get the regular slow death or the super slow death. I kind of like the super slow death because the hooks are a little bit stronger, but either one work really well. So those are generally the kinds of things we use. Sometimes you can jig. Sonic bait fish works pretty well occasionally.
We caught a couple big ones off Sonic.
Yep, and there's just all kinds of different ways, but really the thing is sort of match the forage, and that's why I look at the gut, see what they're eating, and like I said, in general, kind of probably a rule of thumb is darker in the colder months, and then as we move into the warmer months, and you can move to brighter colors, and I really like the UV glow burst blades. We've had a lot of luck with those.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then they have Max now makes a new product. It's lots of UV, but it's a lemon lime UV smile blade, and I love putting that on a green wally pop. So yeah, that's what we use out there. Another thing we keep in the boat is these guided field sharpeners. It's kind of nice because, even though Banks is not real rocky, there are some places that, you can snag up on stuff. We don't lose a lot of gear, do we?
No, not at Banks Lake. No, it's pretty easy fishing at Banks Lake.
The bottom's mostly muddy, but occasionally there are, if you're fishing some of the shoals, there are some rocky places, and if you catch your hooks up, they can dull pretty easily or even get straightened out. I've had that happen before.
Me too.
But I keep this guided field sharpener. It's a work sharp. You can find these on our shop.harrodoutdoors.com. We carry these, or you can go to Work Sharp site directly. But the nice thing about these is for your sharpening a knife, of course, and it's handy for your fillet knife because you've got a fine grit and a coarse grit on here. But it's the part for the boat that's pretty sweet is this ceramic right here, and you'll notice as I'm turning this that it has grooves in it, and so what you can do is just take your hooks and you can just put them in that groove and just knock the burrs off of them like this, and that really will sharpen them right down those grooves. It works pretty well for fishing. Easy thing to keep in the boat. Doesn't take up much space, but yeah, like I say, mostly at Banks we don't snag up a lot.
No,
don't lose a lot of.
Yeah, Banks is pretty muddy.
Yeah, we troll mostly.
Yeah, we hardly do any jig fishing nowadays.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of jig fishing because we've had such good luck trolling. It's fun to try something different. If you do jig, like you said, a sonic bait fish or just a lead head with a plastic on it, works great. I mean, that works really well. You could even troll those jig heads real slow, especially in the winter. Sometimes that works pretty well, just picking it up off the bottom. There's a variety of ways to fish. As you get into the summer, you can also try like a bobber and bait, where you are trying to fish a school and you can just get over them Just put your bait about a foot off the bottom. If you know you're really getting bit in a spot, you can try that. That works. I know they use that in the upper Midwest quite a bit. That's one technique. I've tried that at banks. But I'd say overall, trolling is
Yeah, it has the most success for us.
has the most
anyways.
success for us. Like I say, when they move around, especially in the summer, and they get up in those bays, you can jig them.
Yeah, well, you
with
really
great,
have to go find them.
Yeah, you can jig them with great success right along the weed lines. Another good way that we've tried is pulling plugs.
Yeah. I mean, I personally haven't done too great with plugs, but I know people who have done really good with plugs.
Yeah. They, walleye are real aggressive, and they can come out of those weed lines and they'll hammer a plug, and it's a pretty fun way to fish. And we've done that actually. If we're trolling, you got to troll quite a bit faster when you're pulling plugs, but you can try to combine what you're doing and maybe long line a plug out there while you're trolling some of these bottom bouncers with this gear. But mostly you just need to switch to it and try it out, and that's when they get real aggressive. But that was a lot of fun at Banks, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to do that again sometime soon.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing that quite a bit. What else we want to talk about, Tyler? Do you have fun when we go out there?
Oh yeah, I have lots of fun all the time.
What would you say, to somebody young kind of wanting to get into this, about, sort of getting into fishing and going out there? Do you have any advice for them?
All I would say is just give it a shot. A lot of people like my age and younger think, oh, fishing's boring. Like you just sit there and wait. I'm just saying, you just gotta give it a shot. If you go with someone who knows what they're doing, you'll have lots of fun and you'll catch fish, which is always fun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think I would say your generation in particular these days don't. We spend a lot of time on these.
Oh yeah.
Looking at the screen, but I would say one thing that's pretty cool about going out a place like that is the scenery.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you can just get your kids to put their phone down and take a look at the view around them, I think that's the thing that's rewarding. It's very rewarding.
Just being outdoors, for me, it's awesome just being outside.
Yeah, it's awesome being outside, and it's really good for kids that don't get out very much. And I think everyone should try to do that. And fishing's a great way to do things with family. It's you don't necessarily have to have a boat. We're talking about using our boat, and that's what we do. Of course, is we troll a lot, but you don't have to have a boat to go fishing. Take kids out. You can do it from the bank.
Yeah, I mean, there's that one time we went to Banks Lake with the gray mules, and we caught 36 perch from the bank.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got that's
exactly. Yeah, there's times in the spring right after ice off where the perch will stage up in those bays, and that one time we went out there.
Oh, that was crazy.
That was crazy. We were just kind of fishing a drop shot sort of a deal where we had 2 or 3 hooks on a line, put a weight down below and a few hooks on it, just so you're off the bottom maybe, 2 to 3 feet, and then we were using maggots.
Yeah, there's huck a maggot or two.
Yeah, and we spent the whole day out there. I think the problem was, if I remember right, is couldn't get you to stop fishing. I'm like, we can't put any more in the bucket because we're going to be cleaning all.
Yeah, I just kept throwing out, catching them and just throwing them back because I just didn't want to stop because fishing was hot, so I just went and kept fishing.
I know. It was good. Yeah, it was really good, and but that's you don't need a boat to do that, and that was a great fun. I think you and his friend Colin, they were the same age. Mm-hmm. You probably like, what? 13, 14?
Yeah, I mean, we were probably just getting into high school.
Yeah.
That picture, because we just moved in this house, so we have a picture of it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just moved here, and so we had to fillet our fish on, outside. Yeah. And it was cold when we got back, let me tell you.
Oh, geez,
our fingers were freezing.
Yeah.
And so, really getting these kids outside like that, I think, taking them with a friend, making it fun. If it gets real boring, try to change it up. Either let them explore a bank line or you know, tie a bunch of hooks. I know one thing that you always used to do quite a bit is rummage through the tackle box.
Yeah, and try to make something
And
up.
try to make something up.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about a lot of this gear we use from Max is we got lots of components. We got beads and pill floats and everything that they sell, and so yeah, you can create your own unique thing, and who knows, if they catch a fish on it, that's even better, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're kind of hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say fishing's a great way to be with family and get kids introduced to the outdoors. So
Yeah.
Maisie's going to come over and join us.
Hi, Pup.
I think she's tired of sitting over there. Yeah, so speaking of filleting, you know, we talked a little bit about when it's cold like that, getting out, and you know, we just filleted outside on the table outside, and it was really cold. And you know, you want to teach your kids how to properly care for the fishing game that they get. And again, that's another one of those things, you don't want that to be a miserable experience. So if you can, you know, take it into the garage, or if you can do it in a laundry room and a utility sink or whatever, you know, you can clean up the mess. It's pretty good. Now, the one thing that we use that I didn't put on the table here is we use electric fillet knife. That's how we fillet a lot of our fish.
Well, yeah, that works really well. I mean, that works awesome.
Yep, and so, you know, you can get a variety of fillet knives, electric fillet knives that are made just for fishing. There's a variety of brands. Obviously, Sportsman's Warehouse would be my choice. That's where you can go to get those things. But they work really well. And the only thing is, you just got to learn a little bit about the technique. And the main thing with those is that you don't want to go too deep. You cut the spine when you're going down by the gill. You can take your fillet knife and cut the rib bones out after you're done, and that's a quick way to do it. But you know, again, kind of like everything else, make it enjoyable for the kids, so that they want to come back and do it again. And then the other part is, what I didn't mention in the beginning, is we have 2 television shows, the Northwest Outdoorsman, and we also have a fish and wild game cooking show called Harrod's Cookhouse Field to Table. And so we like to, you know, cook a lot of things that we catch or kill ourselves, you know. It's a lot of fun, and so teaching kids how to do that too, get them involved in the cooking, because it's good for you. It's a lot of fun to prepare your own meals.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's pretty good. I mean, like, what do you like eating walleye? I mean, what's your favorite way to eat that?
No, fish tacos.
Yeah.
Fish tacos. Yeah, you guys will think I'm crazy. Some of my friends think I'm crazy, but fish tacos with walleye, oh, can't beat it.
You really can't. On our YouTube channel, you can find little recipe segments, and the recipe that we're talking about for the walleye is basically a deep fried. You can pan fry it as well, but you know, if you do it in deep fry it, that's the best way. You just cut the walleye into little pieces, and then use our lemon and dill seasoning with some panko and some flour. We use a dredging station. We've used this particular recipe for all kinds of things. It works well for kokanee too. We call that deep fried kokanee, or as our buddy likes to call it, kokanee crack. It's because you get so addicted to it. But the walleye, you know, using walleye is really good. So check out that recipe. You can also find recipes on our website. If you go to harrodoutdoors.com, click on the recipe page, you can go right down there and find the recipes for all kinds of things. Look under fish, and you'll find walleye fish tacos. They're really, really good.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome.
They're really
awesome.
They really are. It's a great way to fix it. There's some other ways to do it. You know, we bake it. We have a Parmesan seasoning that we sell, Parmesan fish, and that's pretty good if you don't want to deep fry something a little more healthy. Then you can bake it, and it's really good baked. I love walleye. If you've never eaten walleye, it's literally one of the best eating fish.
Oh yeah, by far.
Yeah,
like
it's
people
so
underestimate walleye. They're awesome.
Yeah, you think this bony, toothy fish might not be very good to eat, but the meat is literally kind of sweet. And I'm telling you, once you eat a walleye, then you'll really be hooked. I mean, they're a lot of fun because You know, it's kind of like a hunt in my mind. You got to figure them out, and they're not always where you think they are. Yeah, they're not the greatest fighting fish, but
that doesn't matter.
I think that if you catch some nice sized fish, they are very fun to catch. But really, to me, it's about the hunt for them and eating them. They're just wonderful.
And it's really cool. I mean, when you're a little kid, you actually catch this predator fish, so it looks like you're catching a mean fish. So it's kind of cool in that aspect too. It's got real big spines on it, real big teeth, like.
And it'll poke you too.
Oh yeah, I've been poked way too many times.
They not only have, sharp spines on their dorsal fin, they also have them on their gill plates, so you kind of got to watch out.
Oh, yeah.
And they have teeth.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to think you're going to lip them or stick your finger down there to remove a hook. Now Bobby does that, and he's kind of crazy that way, but yeah, you don't really want to stick your finger down there.
True fisherman right there, just sticking his hand down the tooth-filled mouth.
Yeah. So yeah, I think as far as getting kids into the outdoors, taking them fishing is great, and walleye fishing is a really good one. For those of you here in the Northwest, there's more walleye fishing than you're really aware of, probably. There's several lakes in Washington, particularly north central Washington, that have great population of walleye, and the whole Columbia River system does, all the way from the Canadian border and over the Canadian border for that matter, all the way down to the mouth. And some of the places that we've fished are below the John Day Dam, the McNary Pool, or below McNary Dam, excuse me, and then also up in Lake Roosevelt, which is the dam behind, or the reservoir behind Cooley Dam.
I haven't fished Lake Roosevelt for a while.
Yeah, and that's a big body of water. That's like 180 miles long.
Oh yeah, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to find some walleye in there.
It's the better fishing really is, above Keller, from Keller and above. The further north you go, there's more opportunity. Of course, as you get closer to the dam, the water's deeper, and there's not many shallow places to catch them, but literally you can catch them throughout the entire Lake Roosevelt system. We went up there a couple times and fished for bass. And
yeah, we've done all right.
We went on a family vacation one time there. Do you remember that?
The houseboat, yeah.
And we fished then, and I think we were up by 7 Bay. Is it 7 Bays? Yeah, I think it's 7 Bays.
I believe so.
Hunters and that area there, and we caught some walleye.
We caught a couple walleye, a couple bass.
Caught some bass. That was a fun trip. And I think I think mostly what we fished up there are for kokanee, and we have a great episode on that at fishing Lake Roosevelt. And
oh yeah, we got
some nice kokanee. There's some
kokanees.
trophy kokanee in there, but that'll be maybe a topic for another episodes. But yeah, so Lake Roosevelt's a great place to catch them. Another good place to take family and kids, because there are places to rent where you can stay up there or you can stay on your boat. One neat thing about Lake Roosevelt is they have outhouses, floating outhouses, floating bathrooms up and down the lake, and that's really nice when you're taking the girls, because then they have a place to you can go. They're very nice. The National Park Services maintains those.
Oh yeah, they're nice. Like, I mean, while we're waiting for my mom and my sister to use it, I mean, you can actually fish off of them and catch what I call a little potty mouth bass. They're like about this big, but it's kind of fun.
That was fun. Yeah, those bass were hiding out underneath the shadow of the outhouse, which is kind of funny. So we're waiting for them, and Tyler was catching fish. He's got to be throwing something all the time.
Yeah,
this is good.
Yeah, gotta be fishing. Gotta be fishing.
Yeah, Lake Roosevelt's a good place to go, and of course, like I say, there are several other lakes throughout the Northwest where you can find walleye, and there are some other, in some of those places you can get panfish too, like crappie and perch, and that's a lot of fun for kids to do. Down on the Snake River between Oregon and Idaho, Richland, Oregon, up by Huntington, Oregon, those stretches of the Snake River have lots of crappie, which is another good thing to take kids out and do because you can catch bunches of those.
Oh yeah, non-stop fishing.
Yeah, another episode you might want to check out is we took, one year we did a giveaway.
Oh yeah, the contest winner.
Yeah, we did a giveaway, and we took out contest winner and his daughter and took him crappie fishing, and I think that was the first time maybe she'd ever been fishing. She might have been fishing one other time, but certainly it was the first time she crappie fished, and we caught a lot of fish. And again, a great way to get a young person involved in fishing is, you know, do something that's pretty easy to catch and a great time. And
I catch a lot of numbers with those fish
yeah,
too.
yeah. So that was crappie fishing on the Snake River, and you can find that on the channel too. And it was a fun trip. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The fellow went with us named John. Turns out that he was related to somebody that had a daughter that was my age in high school.
Really?
And what are the chances that we would randomly draw someone that was related to someone I know? I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else? Any other ideas?
No, that's pretty much it.
You got no other ideas?
No, it's not at all.
Well, that might be all we have to talk about today. We'll go ahead and end the video cast for today, but thanks for watching. I hope you kind of enjoyed just hearing a little bit from us. We'll do some more. Like I say, sometimes we might be on the road with this. You'll meet all kinds of people who have been involved with the show, some of our sponsors. I'm very anxious to share all that with you. So that if you have questions or things you'd like us to cover, we'll be more than happy to do that. We can basically do whatever we want. Like I said, this is meant to be real informal and really just sort of fun, have a conversation. Like I say, check out our television shows, The Northwest Outdoorsman and Harrod's Cookhouse Field to Table, which you can find on this YouTube channel. Another thing that you might want to check out is we just produced a new video called We Are Outdoorsmen. And that's our latest video production, and it kind of celebrates outdoorsmen in the Pacific Northwest and really make you feel pride in what we do. So check that out. I think you'll really enjoy it. And I think that's all we have for today.
That's it.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.